Picture this. It is late March 2026.
Okay.
You are sitting in the stands of the Stade de France in Paris.
Incredible stadium.
Right. And the atmosphere is just absolutely vibrating. The Senegal national football team is walking onto the pitch for a friendly match against Peru.
Yeah.
The stadium is packed. You've got diaspora fans of the global game. Everybody is roaring. But what makes this moment, truly electrifying, what makes it absolutely surreal, is what the players are actually carrying.
Oh, yeah. This is the craziest part.
As they emerge from the tunnel, they are parading the Africa Cup of Nations trophy. Like they are physically lifting it up, showing it to the crowd, just basking in the glory of being the undisputed continental champion.
Right. It's a moment of pure, unadulterated triumph.
Exactly. But there's just one massive problem.
Yeah.
Officially, according to the actual record books, they are not the champions.
It is such an incredible visual, especially, when you realize the context, because just days before that friendly match in Paris, the Confederation of African Football, CAF, made this unprecedented ruling.
Unbelievable ruling.
Right. They literally stripped Senegal of that very title, overturned their victory in the 2025 final, and officially awarded the championship to their opponents, Morocco.
So what you're witnessing in Paris is pure, unfiltered defiance.
Exactly.
They are walking into this summer's 2026 World Cup carrying just a massive golden chip on their collective shoulder.
Yeah, they believe they're the kings of Africa, no matter what the boardroom says.
Right. So welcome to this deep dive. Today, we're taking a really massive stack of sources. I'm talking dense tactical blueprints, statistical databases, raw match reports, cultural histories, and we're going to use all of it to deconstruct the Senegal national team right ahead of the 2026 World Cup.
It's going to be a fun one.
Oh, for sure. We are going to explore their unique cultural identity, their impenetrable tactical armor, the really fascinating generational shift happening on the roster right now, and exactly how they stack up in what is widely considered a brutal Group I.
Yeah, Group I is a gauntlet.
It really is.
Yeah.
Okay, let's unpack this. I want you, the listener, to imagine you're an opposition scout trying to figure out how on earth you break this team down.
Right, put on your scouting hat.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Because we have to start with the identity of this squad. They're universally known as the Lions of Teranga. But, if you know anything about the word Teranga, it doesn't exactly sound ferocious.
No, it really doesn't. And that juxtaposition is the absolute key to understanding the psychology of this squad.
Right.
If you delve into the cultural sources we have, the Wolof language offers this word Teranga, which it loosely translates to hospitality.
But it's more than just being polite, right?
Oh, totally. It means so much more. It represents this deep communal warmth and generosity. Like, Senegal is renowned for its vast plains and stunning coastlines, but culturally, the nation is really defined by how welcoming its people are.
Yeah, and our sources highlight that off the pitch, these players embody that spirit perfectly.
Exactly. If you follow them around the team hotel or, during media availability, they are amicable, they're gracious with fans, super accommodating with journalists.
And deeply bonded with each other.
Yes. But the second they cross that white line onto the pitch, a complete, almost terrifying psychological switch flips.
They activate the lion spirit.
Right.
It's like, think of it this way. It's like going over to someone's house where they're the most gracious, welcoming host imaginable.
Right, they're cooking you dinner.
Exactly. Pouring you a drink, asking about your family. But the second you step into their backyard to play a friendly game of one-on-one basketball, they are instantly throwing elbows, contesting every shot, and just locking you down.
That is a brilliant way to conceptualize it. It's a total personality shift.
Yeah, they leave the Teranga in the locker room.
Literally. On the grass, they become the kings of the jungle. They use sheer physical power and this collective intensity to intimidate and overwhelm opponents.
And it's that specific blend, right? That unified brotherhood off the pitch combined with pure aggression on it.
Exactly. That's what has anchored their greatest historical successes. I mean, you can trace this all the way back to their historic 2002 World Cup quarterfinal run, or their first AFCON title in 2021.
But in this 2026 cycle, that lion spirit isn't just, naturally occurring. It has been supercharged by a profound sense of injustice.
Yeah, the fuel source has definitely changed.
Right. And to understand why they are playing with such fiery defiance right now, we have to talk about January 18, 2026. The AFCON final against Morocco in Rabat.
Such a wild night.
We really need to dissect what happened that night, because you just cannot understand the psychology of this current World Cup squad without understanding the trauma of that match.
100%. The tactical and psychological implications of that night are staggering.
Yeah.
If you look at the sequence of events detailed in the match reports, it is widely considered one of the most chaotic finals in international football history.
Oh, without a doubt.
For the first 90 minutes, the game is just this tense, incredibly tactical, perfectly even 0-0 stalemate. The possession data shows exactly a 50-50 split.
Wow, exactly 50-50.
Exactly. Both defenses are resolute. Senegalese goalkeeper Edouard Mendy and Moroccan keeper Yassine Bounou are just putting on a shot-stopping masterclass. It's a pure chess match.
Until stoppage time.
Right. Then we hit stoppage time and all hell breaks loose.
Let's walk through the timeline because it is insane.
Yeah.
We were in the 5th minute of stoppage time, so the 95th minute. Senegal wins a corner kick.
High tension.
Yeah, the ball comes in, and in the chaotic buildup inside the box, Moroccan defender Akrafi Queenie goes down.
Right.
But the play continues for a split second. Senegalese forward Abdoulaye Seck heads the ball off the crossbar, it rebounds, and Ismail Assar smashes it into the back of the net.
And the Senegalese bench just erupts.
Totally. They think they've just won the tournament at the absolute death. But the referee blows his whistle just before Sarr's shot crosses the line. He calls a foul on Selek for the collision with Hakimi. And here is the truly brutal part. Because the whistle drew early, before the goal was technically scored, VAR cannot intervene to review the foul.
Right. By the letter of the law, the play was dead.
Exactly. The goal is wiped off the board.
And the temperature in the stadium instantly skyrockets. You can see the sheer disbelief on the faces of the Senegalese players.
But the drama doesn't even end there.
Not even close. Just 3 minutes later, in the 8th minute of stoppage time, the ball is launched into the Senegalese penalty area.
Okay.
Senegalese defender El Hadji Malick Diouf gets tangled up with Moroccan forward Brahim Diaz. They both go down.
Oh, boy.
And this time, because it's a potential penalty, VAR is triggered. After a lengthy review, the referee points to the spot. He awards a penalty to Morocco.
So just imagine the emotional whiplash if you are a Senegal player.
Right.
In the span of 3 minutes, you go from believing you've scored the tournament-winning goal to facing a stoppage time penalty that will almost certainly hand the trophy to the host nation.
And this is where the famous walk-off happens. The Senegalese players just absolutely lose it.
Yeah, they're furious.
They're surrounding the referee, shoving opponents, and then head coach Peita does the unthinkable. He doesn't just argue. He instructs his entire squad to leave the pitch.
He literally pulls them off the field.
Yes, they physically walk off the field and down the tunnel. The match is suspended.
For 14 agonizing minutes.
Yeah. The live broadcast is just showing an empty green field, confused officials, absolute pandemonium in the stands. I mean, fights are breaking out in the press box. It is total chaos.
Meanwhile, our sources detailing the dressing room accounts paint a really fascinating picture of what was happening underneath the stadium.
Yeah, Sadio Mané's role here is crucial.
Exactly. The legendary Sadio Mané steps up.
Yeah.
And he isn't yelling at the referee. He is reportedly pleading with his own teammates.
Right.
He tells them, "We will play like men." He is the one who convinces them that walking away is not how the Lions of Teranga operate. He convinces them to return to the pitch.
It's incredible leadership. So when they finally emerge from the tunnel 21 minutes after regulation time was supposed to end, by the way, Mendy is given a yellow card for delaying the game.
And he totally leans into it.
Oh, he completely leans into the dark arts. He continues to stall by refusing to get in goal. He's messing with his gloves, scraping his cleats on the post.
Just maximizing the pressure on the penalty taker.
Exactly. Finally, Brahim Diaz steps up to take the penalty from Morocco. He attempts a chipped Panenka, trying to just humiliate the keeper.
Yeah.
And Mendy stands his ground and saves it.
I remember watching that live. It is the ultimate dramatic save.
It's iconic.
The psychological momentum completely and violently shifts right there. The game goes to extra time. And in the 94th minute, Pape Guy finds a pocket of space and curls a beautiful left-footed shot high into the top corner. Senegal wins 1-0.
Yeah, they lift the trophy in front of a completely stunned Moroccan crowd.
Oh, wait, we have to mention the towel incident.
Oh, yes, the towel.
Because it perfectly captures the absolute friction of this match. Throughout the game, Moroccan players and even the ball boys kept trying to steal and throw away Mendy's lucky hand towel.
Right, the one he keeps nestled in the netting of his goal.
Yeah. And Senegal's substitute keeper, Yvan Diouf, kept sprinting out from the bench to retrieve it. He even posed with the towel draped over his shoulders alongside the trophy in the victory photos.
They literally fought for every single inch, every single object that night.
They absolutely did.
Yeah.
But that on-pitch victory was short-lived.
Yeah. On March 17, exactly 2 months later, the CAF Appeal Board handed down a stunning reversal of the result.
Let's lay out the facts of that ruling.
Right. So according to the official documentation, CAF ruled that by leaving the pitch and refusing to return for 14 minutes, Senegal had formally forfeited the match under Articles 82 and 84 of the competition regulations. The board interpreted the walk-off not as a, temporary protest, but as a match abandonment. Consequently, CAF stripped Senegal of the title, officially recorded the match as a 3-0 victory for Morocco based on forfeit rules, and crowned Morocco the champions.
And the Senegalese Football Federation immediately released a statement calling the ruling a travesty with no legal foundation. They argued that the refereeing was a breach of protocol.
Yeah, they've officially escalated the dispute to the Court of Arbitration for Sport.
Now, it is really vital for us to look at this objectively. Our goal here isn't to play judge and jury.
No, not at all.
The facts are simply that CAF applied Articles 82 and 84 regarding match abandonment, while Senegal contends the environment and officiating justify their actions under duress.
Right, we're just reporting what happened.
Exactly.
Okay.
We're simply laying out this sequence of events, because whether you agree with CAF's interpretation of the rulebook or Senegal's outrage, the reality is that the Senegal squad traveling in North America for the World Cup is carrying a massive emotional payload.
And that emotional payload is exactly why their transition into their current tactical setup makes so much sense.
Oh, so?
Because think about the locker room dynamic. You have a squad of elite athletes burning with a sense of perceived injustice. They feel robbed.
Right.
If you put a lax, player-friendly, sort of vibes-only manager in that room, the team likely implodes. The anger becomes a chaotic liability.
Yeah, you need someone to harness it.
Exactly. To channel that kind of raw emotion, you need a disciplinarian. You need an architect who demands absolute structural rigidity so that the anger becomes a controlled weapon. That is exactly why the Senegalese Federation turned to manager Pape Thiaw.
Let's focus on Thea because his appointment is fascinating to me. He took over the team in late 2024. And what I love about his profile is that he actually played for Senegal in that legendary 2002 World Cup squad.
Yes, he was on the pitch when they shocked the world.
So when he speaks to these players about what it takes to make a deep run on the biggest stage, he isn't speaking from theory. He has lived it.
Absolutely.
And since taking the helm, his tactical implementation has been terrifyingly effective. If you look at their World Cup qualifying campaign under his leadership, they went completely undefeated.
7 wins, 3 draws.
And here is the stat that blows my mind. They scored 22 goals and conceded 3.
Yeah.
3 goals in 10 matches against continental competition. That is wild.
Those numbers are the direct result of Thiaw's tactical architecture. He has fundamentally modernized their approach while preserving the historical defensive rigidity that makes top African teams so incredibly tough to break down.
Right.
When you read the tactical dossiers from our sources, they refer to his system as a hybrid model.
Okay. What does that mean in practice?
Well, he doesn't stick to one rigid formation when his team loses the ball. Rather, the team adapts dynamically based on the specific profile of the opponent. He essentially utilizes 2 distinct defensive postures. The first posture is a high-pressing 4-4-2 mid-block.
Okay, for the listener who might just watch the big summer tournaments, let's break down exactly how a mid-block functions.
Gladly. Imagine the pitch divided horizontally into 3 equal sections: the attacking third, the middle third, and the defensive third.
Okay, got it.
In a mid-block, Senegal doesn't press all the way up in the opponent's penalty area, nor do they drop all the way back to their own box. They compress the space in that middle third of the pitch.
Right.
They set up in a 4-4-2 shape, and the forwards and wide midfielders set aggressive pressing traps. This means they allow the opponent's center backs to have the ball, but the moment the ball is passed into the midfield or out to a fullback, Senegal's players violently collapse on the receiver.
So they're baiting the pass.
Exactly. The goal is to force the opponent into making panicked, hurried, inaccurate long balls right into the waiting chests and heads of Senegal's massive center backs.
It's a highly proactive way of defending.
It is, and it's used primarily against teams that try to build out from the back but maybe lack elite technical precision.
I see. But what happens when they face the true heavyweights at the World Cup? I mean, if you try to press the elite European squads and teams with midfielders who can effortlessly pass out of pressure, They will just slice right through that mid-block.
Exactly, which is why Theo shifts into his second defensive posture, an incredibly disciplined 5-4-1 low block.
Right.
When they play elite high-possession teams, a defensive midfielder will drop back between the two center backs to form a back five, or a fullback will tuck tightly inside.
Right, battening down the hatches.
Yeah, they retreat into their defensive third and completely compress the vertical space between their midfield line and their defensive line. The gap between those two lines might only be 10 or 15 yards.
Wow, that's tight.
But it is crucial to understand that they aren't just sitting there passively. They are utilizing their immense physical dominance. Statistically, the data shows they have a 77.8% success rate in defensive duels.
That's a huge number.
It's massive. This is about physically intimidating the opponent. When an attacker receives the ball, they are immediately met with intense physical contact. Senegal dominates the ground tackles, they dominate the aerial battles, and they dictate the tempo of the game, frustrating the opponent without even needing to hold on to the ball.
Okay, here's where I have to push back a little bit, though. A 78% dual success rate sounds incredibly impressive on paper.
Sure.
But if you are sitting back in a 5-4-1 low block against an elite team like France, and you only have maybe 35% possession, are you not just parking the bus?
I hear you.
At a certain point, no matter how many tackles you win, if you invite that much pressure, a world-class striker is going to find a way through. How do they actually win games if they're focused so much on absorbing pressure? Is a low block really a sustainable strategy to win a World Cup?
That is the defining question of Thea's tenure, and answering it reveals the absolute brilliance of their attacking threat. You have to understand that this low block is not a desperate attempt to hold on to a 0-0 draw. It is a highly sophisticated, deliberate trap. By dropping so deep, Senegal intentionally invites the opponent to push their own defensive line much higher up the pitch, closer to the midfield line.
Leaving all that space behind them.
Exactly. Massive, gaping acres of empty grass behind the opponent's defenders. So when Senegal's elite interceptors win the ball players like Idrissa Gana Gueye, who has a staggering 131 caps and reads the game like a supercomputer, or Captain Kalidou Koulibaly with his 103 caps, they don't just clear the ball blindly into the stands.
Right.
The moment they win it, they immediately trigger devastating, rapid, vertical counterattacks into that empty space.
Oh, I love that. So the defensive block is basically a coiled spring.
That's exactly it.
They invite the opponent in, they absorb all that kinetic energy, and the second they win the ball, that spring snaps back violently, launching their forwards into the empty space left behind by the overcommitted attacking team.
Precisely. The transition is instantaneous, and when they transition into possession, their shape fluidly transforms from that 5-4-1 into a 4-3-3. But it's not a standard symmetrical 4-3-3 where the wingers just stay wide. The tactical analysts in our sources describe their attacking mechanism as an asymmetrical wide overload.
Let's unpack the mechanics of that, because asymmetrical wide overload sounds like a phrase you'd hear in an engineering lecture, not on a football pitch. How does it actually work?
Think of it this way. In a normal setup, both the left back and the right back might push up equally. In Senegal's system, it is highly asymmetrical.
Lopsided.
Yes. The left back pushes extremely high up the pitch, essentially abandoning his defensive duties to become an out-and-out winger. He hugs the touchline. Because the left back is providing the width, it allows the actual left winger to drift completely inside, away from the sideline, into what we call the half spaces.
The half spaces being those vertical channels on the pitch right between the center and the wing, where defenders often get confused about who is supposed to mark the attacker.
Exactly. It causes nightmare communication issues for the opponent's defense. Do I step out? Do I stay? And for Senegal, the player drifting into that half space is usually their all-time leading scorer, Sadio Mane.
Oh, yeah.
He has 55 international goals for a reason. In this system, he operates almost as a second central striker alongside Nicholas Jackson.
And Jackson is an absolute menace in this system.
He really is.
If you watch the Chelsea forward, his profile is built on high-intensity channel running. He doesn't just wait for the ball. He makes these diagonal curving runs that constantly drag center backs out of position.
Then he presses relentlessly from the front.
Right, so you have Jackson causing chaos centrally, Mane drifting into the half space to exploit the gaps, and the left back bombing down the wing.
Yep.
And on the complete opposite side of the pitch, you have the explosive, blistering pace of Ismail Assar. So if an opponent tries to slide their entire defense over to stop Mane and the overload on the left, Sarr is just sitting in acres of space on the right, waiting for a cross-field pass to completely burn the isolated fullback.
It is a brilliant geometric puzzle for the opposition. We saw this exact mechanism function perfectly in a crucial away match during the qualifiers against DR Congo.
Oh, that was a tough game.
Extremely tough. Hostile environment in Kinshasa, massive crowd, difficult pitch conditions. But Senegal walked away with a 3-2 victory.
Right.
If you break down the goals from Pape Guy, Nicholas Jackson, and Pape Matar Sarr, it was a masterclass in clinical transition play. They absorbed DR Congo's initial emotional pressure, won the ball deep, and ruthlessly exploited the spaces left by a Congo side that desperately needed points and pushed too many men forward.
So clinical.
And furthermore, if the counterattack doesn't result in an immediate goal but earns a corner or a foul, Senegal possesses immense set-piece superiority.
Well, they are huge.
When you have players like Koulibaly, Abdoulaye Seck, and Mamadou Sarr all standing well over 1.85 meters tall, delivering bending crosses into the penalty area becomes a highly efficient, mathematically sound way to generate high-value scoring chances.
All right, the system is lethal. But there is a massive elephant in the room here that we really have to address.
Okay, let's hear it.
We just listed Koulibaly, Idrissa Gueye, and Sadio Mane as the key cogs in this machine.
Yeah.
These guys are absolute legends. They're centurions for their country, heroes of the 2021 AFCON. But they're all in their mid-30s now.
That is true.
To sustain this high-energy coiled spring system, to absorb pressure for 80 minutes and still have the legs to sprint 50 yards on a counterattack, you cannot just rely on aging legs in the summer heat of North America.
No, you definitely can't.
The sources make it abundantly clear that to keep this system functioning, Senegal has had to inject some serious, elite teenage blood into the roster.
Indeed, a transition of eras is happening right before our eyes. While the veterans provide the tactical wisdom, the emotional core, and the leadership, Theo has quietly executed a brilliant generational shift behind the scenes.
It's been pretty seamless.
Yeah, it has. If you look at the squad's average age, it sits at a very balanced 26.9 years. They are seamlessly blending that 30-something tournament experience with highly valued young prospects acquired by Europe's top leagues.
Who should we be watching?
3 players in particular stand out in our strategic analysis as the engines powering this new iteration of the team.
Okay, let's look at the new kids on the block because their profiles are fascinating. First up is El Hadji Malick Diouf.
Yeah, Diouf.
He's 21 years old. He just experienced this meteoric rise, securing a massive transfer from Slavia Prague to West Ham United in the Premier League for 22 million euros.
Big move for him.
We mentioned that asymmetrical wide overload earlier where the left back has to bomb forward and basically become a winger. That is Diouf. He's the engine on that left side.
Absolutely.
The scouting reports note that his physical stamina is just freakish. He has the lung capacity to dominate the entire left flank, providing these brilliant, accurate, bending crosses into the box while still possessing the recovery pace to sprint all the way back and reform that 5-4-1 low block when possession is lost.
He is the tactical linchpin. If Diouf cannot provide that width, Mane cannot drift inside and the entire attacking architecture collapses.
Right.
Then you have Ibrahim Abaye. He is only 18 years old, a true prodigy currently developing at Paris Saint-Germain. He profiles as an inside right forward.
What's his game like?
When you watch his tape, his game is built on elite, tight space dribbling and explosive ball carrying. What is remarkable is his international productivity.
He's already producing for the senior team.
Oh, yeah. Even though he's fighting for club minutes at PSG against established global superstars like Ousmane Dembele, he has already scored 3 goals in just 10 caps for the senior Senegal squad. He brings a fearlessness that older, more calculated players sometimes lose.
And then there's the wild card, Barasapoko Ndiaye.
Oh, his story is amazing.
Also just 18 years old. His backstory is something out of a movie. He didn't come through a traditional massive European academy from age 10. He started at the Gambino Stars Academy in Senegal, got scouted, and moved to the United States to join Los Angeles FC, and then made a massive leap, joining Bayern Munich on loan, where he's already logging minutes in the Bundesliga.
It's an incredible trajectory.
And he is a central midfielder. The data on him is just staggering. He was clocked running over 36 kilometers an hour in a match.
Which is insane for a midfielder.
For context, that is elite winger speed, but he's doing it through the center of the pitch. The scouts are comparing his physical frame and aggressive box-to-box profile to a young Leon Goretzka.
Yeah, it's a very apt comparison.
But reading about an 18-year-old kid running 36 kilometers an hour raises a huge dynamic question for me. what does it actually do to the locker room when you have centurions like Guy and Koulibaly, guys who have seen it all, who have won trophies, lining up next to teenagers who were in middle school when Senegal won their first AFCON?
It's a great question.
Does the old guard seamlessly pass the torch, or does Thea have to actively manage a clash of footballing generations?
It is a delicate balance in any team sport, but according to the structural analysis we have on the squad's internal dynamics, the presence of the veterans actually anchors the youth perfectly.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it is a symbiotic relationship. The younger players provide the raw physical output, the recovery runs, the relentless pressing intensity, the pure speed, which in turn significantly reduces the physical burden on players like Mane and Guy.
Oh, that makes sense.
Because Undai is covering so much ground in the midfield, Mene can conserve his energy for decisive, explosive moments in the penalty area. However, relying on this blend, no matter how physically gifted they are, doesn't mean the team is without flaws.
Sure.
In fact, our sources explicitly detail 3 glaring structural vulnerabilities that elite opponents at the World Cup will undoubtedly try to exploit.
All right, the Achilles heels. Every team has them. And you can bet opposition scouts are circling these weaknesses in red ink. Let's break these down. The first major vulnerability highlighted in the strategic analysis is a severe midfield creativity deficit.
Correct. We discussed earlier how Senegal utilizes a double defensive pivot in midfield, usually involving Idrissa Gueye paired with Pape Gueye or Pathé Ciss.
Right.
For the listener, think of a double pivot as 2 holding midfielders sitting side by side like a blast shield in front of the center backs.
Great analogy.
This structure is absolutely fantastic for shielding the defense and breaking up opposition attacks. However, it creates a massive vacuum in the central final third of the pitch when Senegal actually has the ball.
They don't have that classic playmaker.
Exactly. They lack a classic creative number 10, a playmaker who can sit in the pocket, thread delicate through balls, and pick a lock through the middle of a tight defense.
Because their build-up play relies so heavily on those wide overloads.
Yes. Relying on the wide overloads and fullback crosses from players like Diouf means they are structurally predictable. If an opponent feels a well-organized, compact defense that successfully shuts down the flanks and forces Senegal to play through the center, Senegal often struggles to manufacture high-quality chances.
So if you force them inside, they hit a brick wall.
Basically, yeah.
The second vulnerability is emotional volatility, and this ties directly back into that chaotic AFCON final we talked about.
Very much so.
We talked about how that lion spirit makes them fierce competitors, but it is a massive double-edged sword. Yes, it fuels their aggressive pressing and physical dominance, but when faced with highly controversial refereeing, or what the sources clinically term high-friction situations, their collective discipline can crack.
It's a real risk.
The strategic analysis explicitly warns that sophisticated, cynical opponents at the World Cup might intentionally use the dark arts of football. Time-wasting, subtle physical provocations, persistent tactical fouling to get under their skin. The goal wouldn't just be to stop their attacks, but to goad them into losing their structural shape. Or worse, taking a retaliatory red card that ruins their tournament.
And the third vulnerability is purely environmental, and it is quite unique to their situation for this specific World Cup.
Yeah, this one is fascinating.
Due to a complex geopolitical reality specifically, a U.S. policy enacted under President Donald Trump that placed a near-total travel ban on Senegalese citizens, Senegal will face a massive, undeniable fan deficit in North America.
Right.
Usually, a World Cup featuring Senegal is a vibrant spectacle. It is a riot of color, synchronized drumming, body paint, and relentless, deafening vocal support from thousands of traveling fans.
It's the best part of the tournament.
It really is. But because supporters traveling directly from Senegal are largely barred from entering the United States, the team will lose that famous 12th man effect in the stadiums.
Okay, here's where it gets really interesting, and I want to genuinely challenge you on this point.
Okay, go for it.
Is the lack of traveling fans really a tangible tactical disadvantage? I mean, we talk about the 12th man all the time in sports media broadcasts, but we're talking about elite, seasoned professionals here.
That's true.
Guys who play in the Premier League, the Bundesliga, the Champions League. They've played in empty stadiums during the pandemic. They play in hostile away grounds every single weekend. Does a quieter stadium actually cause a team of this caliber to lose a World Cup match?
It is a very fair challenge, and you are right that at the elite level, players are highly trained to block out external noise. However, the data and psychological profiling of international football suggest otherwise.
Really?
Yeah. In tournament settings, where teams are isolated in training camps for weeks under immense national pressure, emotional momentum is a highly tangible, highly tactical factor.
Okay, I'm listening.
Think about the mechanics of a match. When a team goes down a goal or is suffering through a grueling 20-minute spell of intense opponent pressure where they can't get out of their own half,
Yeah.
the visceral physical roar of a friendly crowd can trigger a collective physiological surge in adrenaline.
Oh, interesting.
It instantly raises the pressing intensity by a few percentage points. Without that external stimulus, Senegal will have to generate all of their emotional momentum internally.
They won't have the drums to wake them up.
Exactly. If they fall behind against a top-tier European team, they won't have 20,000 drums beating to push them forward. And in a group as brutal as Group I, those marginal emotional gains mean absolutely everything.
And Group I is a true gauntlet. It leaves absolutely zero margin for error. Let's look exactly at who they are facing in this group because it is a fascinating clash of styles.
It's an incredible group.
The group consists of France, Norway, Senegal, and Iraq. If we look at the predictive data, the betting markets have France as the heavy, overwhelming favorite with a 71.4% implied probability of winning the group.
As expected.
Norway is seeded second at 26.7%, Senegal is third at 12.5%, and Iraq is a distant fourth at just 2%.
Those odds reflect public perception and historical pedigree, but our deep dive into the tactical sources suggests the technical gap, particularly between Norway and Senegal, is much narrower than the bookmakers indicate.
Right.
Let's break down the matchups chronologically, because the sequence of games heavily dictates tournament strategy. It starts with a blockbuster opening fixture on June 16th against France at MetLife Stadium in New Jersey.
Oh man, the historical weight of this opening game is incredible.
So much history.
If you know World Cup history, you know the echoes here.
Yeah.
2002 World Cup, the opening match of the entire tournament. Senegal, making their absolute World Cup debut, completely stuns the defending champions France 1-0.
One of the greatest upsets ever.
It remains one of the most iconic upsets in World Cup history. Now, 24 years later, they face off again. Tactically, it's going to be Senegal's 5-4-1 low block, those two defensive lines compressed tightly together, trying to contain the sheer, terrifying, world-class speed of Kylian Mbappe and Ousmane Dembélé.
From a tactical standpoint, containing those elite-wide players will place an immense, almost suffocating responsibility on Senegal's fullbacks, particularly Young Diouf and their center-back pairing of Koulibaly and Moussa Niakhaté.
They have to be perfect.
They cannot afford a single lapse in concentration. But there is a crucial, non-tactical environmental factor at play here that the sources highlight.
Oh, what's that?
The match kicks off at 3:00 p.m. Eastern Time in the middle of June in New Jersey.
Oh, the heat.
The heat and humidity on that turf will be absolutely oppressive. The strategic analysis notes that this extreme climate might actually physically favor the African side.
Because they're used to it.
Right. Their players are deeply accustomed to grueling, high-temperature conditions from their continental qualifiers, whereas the European players are coming off a long, exhausting winter club season.
That's a great point.
If Senegal can maintain their rigid defensive discipline, absorb the early barrage, and force France to chase the game in the sweltering heat, securing a pragmatic, ugly draw is a highly possible and incredibly valuable outcome for Thia's men.
That is a fascinating angle. So if they can survive the sheer speed of France in the heat, they move on to match 2, June 22, also at MetLife. And they face a completely different beast, the pure physical brute force of Norway, led by Erling Haaland.
This is undoubtedly the defining match for second place in the group. If the France game is about surviving speed, the Norway game is a direct clash of physical titans.
Yeah.
The primary tactical storyline here will be Kalidou Koulibaly's specific assignment. His sole job will be to shadow and neutralize Erling Haaland.
Heavyweight bout right there.
Oh, a true heavyweight bout. Koulibaly has to use his own massive frame to deny Haaland space inside the penalty area, constantly disrupting his balance and cutting off the supply of aerial crosses.
How does Senegal score, though?
Well, here's where Senegal can win the game while Norway is undeniably lethal up front with Haaland and Martin Ødegaard. Their defensive transition is notoriously fragile. Norway likes to push fullbacks high. When Senegal's midfield, particularly the athletic, tireless engines of Pape Gueye and Young Ndiaye, wins the ball, they must immediately dominate the center of the pitch. They have to ruthlessly exploit the vast spaces Norway leaves behind.
So the coiled spring again.
Exactly. If the coiled spring transition works anywhere, it is against this Norwegian defense.
So if you map this out, it requires incredible tactical flexibility.
Mm.
You survive the speed of France, you battle the brute strength of Norway,
Yeah.
and if you are still alive, you finally arrive at the third match on June 26 in Toronto.
Yeah.
Senegal faces Iraq, and this is a complete 180-degree tactical flip for Pape Thiaw. Senegal goes from being the underdogs in the first two matches, sitting back and absorbing pressure, to suddenly being the heavy favorites expected to dictate the tempo and break the opponent down.
Exactly. And this might actually be their most difficult challenge structurally.
Really?
Yes. Iraq secured their qualification through an incredibly disciplined, deeply entrenched 4-4-2 low block. Think of Iraq's defense as a Gordian knot. They do not leave gaps in the middle of the pitch.
Right.
Against Iraq, Senegal's central midfield creativity deficit, that vulnerability we discussed, the lack of a number 10 will be severely tested. They cannot just pass the ball around the perimeter. They must find ways to snap the threads of that Gordian knot.
How do they do that?
This is where the asymmetrical overload becomes paramount. The overlapping high-energy runs of left-back El Hadji Malik Diouf will be absolutely vital to stretch the Iraqi defense horizontally.
Pull them out of position.
Right, forcing them to widen their compact shape and hopefully creating tiny gaps for Mane and Jackson to exploit centrally. And crucially, Senegal cannot just win this game 1-0. They must maximize their goal difference.
Because of the tiebreakers.
Yes. In tight tournament groups, advancement often comes down to mathematical tiebreakers, which means scoring as many goals as possible against the bottom seed is a tactical mandate, not just a luxury.
So we've gone on quite the journey today. Think about everything we have unpacked.
That's a lot.
We started with the deep cultural roots of Teranga, that beautiful communal hospitality that defines the Senegalese people. We looked at how that dramatically contrasts with their fierce, uncompromising lion spirit the second they step onto the pitch.
Yeah.
We dissected the deep emotional scars from that chaotic January night in Rabat, the stripped AFCON title, the walk-off in the tunnel, the ongoing appeals to the Court of Arbitration for Sport.
Right.
We explored how manager Pape Thiaw has harnessed that collective anger and channeled it into a rigid, hybrid tactical system that acts like a coiled spring, ready to snap on the counterattack. We met the legendary centurions like Koulibaly and Mané, and the electrifying teenage speedsters like Diouf, Mbaye, and Ndiaye, who are providing the vital energy to keep the system alive.
The perfect blend.
And finally, we plotted their grueling, highly adaptable path through the Group I gauntlet against the speed of France, the power of Norway, and the puzzle box defense of Iraq.
When you synthesize all of these sources, the foundational takeaway from the tactical data and the cultural analysis is that Senegal possesses both the structural completeness and the elite individual talent required to execute a deep run in this tournament.
They have all the pieces.
They do. The pieces are all there. If the coaching staff can maintain emotional control, mitigate the midfield creativity issues, and sustain their defensive stability in the North American heat, they are mathematically and tactically projected to surpass the public expectations that are heavily weighed against them.
But despite all the data, despite the incredible physical profiles and the tactical blueprints, it leaves us with one massive, lingering human question.
Yeah.
Will the burning injustice of that overturned AFCON final be the ultimate unifying fuel? Will that shared trauma bind this squad together into an unbreakable brotherhood that replicates their historic 2002 World Cup run?
It's the multi-million-dollar question.
Or will that heavy emotional baggage, combined with the eerie silence of a lack of traveling fans and the immense suffocating pressure of the world stage, cause them to lose their discipline and implode in a moment of frustration when the heat is truly on?
We'll find out this summer.
Keep a very close eye on the Lions of Teranga, because whichever way the pendulum swings, whether it is spectacular triumph or chaotic heartbreak, it is going to be absolutely unforgettable.